Very good evening, friends. The 12th of August 2017, and it's 20 past 5 in the evening on a sunny day, sunny evening, out here in Ym.Engr Gardens, my plantations in the hills of Kerala. Uh, Yesterday I brought out an intro of my autobiography, which is intended to let my virtual media friends know who I am and what I am, and a little of my life story. And so I intending to go into the depth of my intentions or my visions and missions into the place I was born and brought up, and that is Nagaland, in the extreme northeast of India. Today's part will cover my life from the time I was born in Phek, Nagaland in 1965 January, and would extend all the way down to 1982 when I left my village Viswema in Nagaland, and my entire family shifted off to Kohima, the headquarters, for my higher studies. Well, though I was born in Phek, I don't know much about Phek, nor do I remember anything, because my father started a school with the help of the villagers, as you know, in Phek before Nagaland state came into existence. That was way back in 1962. And my mother joined him in 1964, and 65 I was born there. But as I told you, his commitment to the society and the people made him take a decision with the villagers to hand over the school to the government in 1966, and joined the government service to serve the people again, and he was posted to a place called Chazuba. A few things that I get from my mama is that in Phek, those days the innocent villagers wanted their children to somehow get educated, and my mother used to tell me that her students in class 10 and all were almost her age, or maybe even a little older than her. That is, she was just 21 plus when she reached there, and she was a maths teacher. And the villagers were so kind and so humble. They actually could not pay the fees of, the salaries of my parents, and they used to collect just 1 rupee each and all from people and pay them, and could not pay for months and all. But dad and all were happy. Their kitchen used to be filled up with different types of meat and vegetables. These poor, nice, wonderful village mamas and people cultivate and bring and give them as gratitude. And my mother used to tell me that the village mamas used to come and pick the baby Jolly off in the morning, so that my parents can go and peacefully teach their children. And they used to take me off, putting me binding me on the front of their chest, because most of the time they would have another baby on the back, and so to take a little more care of their so-called gurus or teachers of their children, which they respected to the utmost. And my mother used to tell me that any decisions that has to be taken in the village, they don't take unless the school head, which was my father, was consulted. So that was a massive respect. He was something like they considered him like a king. So these mothers used to take me off to their fields, and they literally used to look after me as their own baby, own baby. I underline that own baby because my mother keeps on repeating that. And they used to chew food and all and give it to me exactly like they used to feed their own baby. And my mom even now laughs that God knows how many Chakasang mamas milk you have in your body, because she says that I was smart enough to push off or go drink the milk of these mamas. In fact, I feel funny about it. But the sweet mamas, I really would say that there's a massive effect on my personality, and a huge effect on my personality. Maybe because those mama's milks are also there in my body or my blood, or maybe because I used to go with them to the kheti, that is the farming fields down the mountains, and they bring me back late in the evening. And by the time my parents are back home, and they look after, then hand me over to them and go. So that way, that small part of my Phek history that I know finished. And in Chazuba, by the time we reached Chazuba, I was still a baby, and when I was around less than 1.5 years old, almost 1.5 years old, a baby girl was born to us, and my mama delivered, in fact, in our own house in Chazuba, near the school, just below the school, when she was washing the clothes. We would feel very funny these days that anybody would deliver a baby in that way. And a woman whom I consider, or I really regard as my own mama, or what I call my second mama, is Afu Sano. Afu means mother in Angami, another dialect of Nagaland, because to the knowledge of those people on my virtual media who does not know about Nagaland, Nagaland is a state of many tribes, with 16 major tribes and many minor tribes, and they have different dialects, and they have a common language-like scenario where it's a mixture of different languages, and that is the common language they use to communicate among themselves, and that's called Nagamis. So Angami is another big tribe, and one of the most developed, or I should say the second most developed statistically the second most developed, but I would say the most developed and most mature people of the entire Nagas, the Angamis, and Afu means mother in Angami. So Afu Sano was in Chazuba, and her husband, the late chief minister of Nagaland, Apo Vizol, Apo Vamzo, was also there, and he was a contractor, and he was the one who used to take my dad and mom and us to all the way to Kohima and then to Dimapur to drop us to go to Kerala and pick us up and all. So Afasano used to come and take me off to her house, and my first friend, in fact, was little brother Bosch, her son, these are what I remember, and she was the headmistress of a school in a private school in Chazuba. And I used to just go play around there, and later on I and my sister used to go and play around there. So this is the life and structure of Chazuba that I know, and I also remember that a lot of firings between the underground and the army used to happen, and my house used to be a center point for the firing scenario, because one part just near above my house, the underground would take their positions and fire on the military camp just opposite, up above the hills, above where Afasano and all used to stay. And my father was so respected by the underground, the old underground, and the army, that many a times my parents used to save the underground people by letting them sleep with me and my sister, and then tell the army that no one is here. Though the army know that there are people in it, they just blindly believe my dad and leave. 1971, my dad and mom were transferred to a place called Viswema, which eventually became my home. And as I told you, that is my home, and Kerala is my second home. And that is the place I spent all my childhood and my teens, and grew up there. 1972, we went off to Kohima. My father was the first guy to buy a Italian Lambretta scooter, and that's a big thing way back in 1972, and all to buy a Lambretta scooter, it's a big thing. So we went off to Kohima, which is around 3 kilometers away from the place called Viswema, the southern Angami area that is to the borders of Manipur state, and there are only 2 more villages to the border of Manipur called Mao. So we shifted to Kohima and stayed in an uncle's place, and he was the carpenter teacher in John High School, Viswema. I don't exactly remember his name, but I think his name was Uncle Puddu, if I am not wrong. And there was a bakery just near the house, and we used to go and have cream buns from there, me and my sister. But the thing is that we joined Loyola School, where I and my sister were the only non-local children at that time, and Loyola School was just budding. It's just started those years, and I was put up in class 2 as a double promotion, and directly no class 1 and no kindergarten, no class A and B and class 1, directly into class 2, and my sister into class 3. Class 1. But the thing is that because I had a smaller sister and who is actually my best friend till today, because we were brought up in the wilderness of those days, Nagaland, and so we are so close to each other, which continues even today. That she is my best and first friend, apart from Boshe Wamso, whom I remember almost every day because he is no more, and I'm really saddened that I have lost my little brother. And I used to carry my school bag and my sister's school bag and two flasks full of milk, a small flask full of milk, and go to Loyola School walking from my house in the town of Jakama to Loyola School. Not a very long distance, but of course for children it's a long distance. Jakama was a place where the 8th Mountain Division headquarters of the Indian Army was there, and because my dad's cousin was married to a major in the signals wing. That auntie was staying with us in Jakama because due to the disturbed area scenario, the wives were not allowed to come to and stay in the army headquarters, and they had to. She had to be in our house, and she was also temporarily teaching in Loyola School. And so, because even the GOC of the 8th Mountain Division, that is the General Officer Command, was a Malayali. I still remember him, Uncle Venu Gopal. So we used to very often go off to the officers' mess and other things, and we had a very heavy relations with the army, and so there are a lot of things that Dad could influence the army to do around in Jakama and Viswema and other places for the development of the people. So that is the time that I was in Loyola School, and in 1973 my parents left for to do their B.Ed in Guwahati, and we were put up in the boarding. And I still remember Father Coelho and our sweet brother Raymond, who was our hostel warden. Like he was more like a father than a brother to us, and so jolly type of a person he was. I think he is now Father Raymond, and he runs a orphanage or something. I tried to get in touch with him, but have not got his numbers. And then we had Mother Dora, Sister Dora, in charge of the convent, and Sister Amicia, who was in charge of the girls and convent kitchen. And then I had my sweet sister Rosalind, who was my class teacher also. And this Sister Amicia used to always keep an egg boiled and a glass of milk for me every evening, and she waits for me to come to meet my little sister in the boarding. And we were there in the boarding for a long time. And then when I reached class 6 and my sister was in class 5, we were shifted off to Kerala, and I was put up in one of the most prestigious schools of those time in Trivandrum, called Sarvodaya Vidyalaya, under the Ym.Engr college campus, and under the Mari Ym.Engr group of institutions. But because I am a pure mama boy, and plus I never knew my language and other things. I felt it very hard to be in Kerala, and eventually I went back. There is a funny story when I was in Sarodya Vidyalaya. I was loved by the fathers there and other things because from my little days itself, if you look into my all-time photographs and other things, I was a little cute but naughty and other things, so they loved me, and I was a jolly type of a guy. I don't know how my grandfather gave me this name of Jolly. He says this guy is going to make everyone happy. So that's the way he gave me a pet name Jolly, though my official name is Matthew Peter. And it so happens that my baptism name is Michael. So the church name of mine is Michael Matthew Peter. But people know me through my pet name, which is Jolly. And I like to be called Jolly because I am jolly in my life too. So in Sarvodaya Vidyalaya, a friend of mine actually had problems or had some trouble with the principal of the school, and we were all boarders. And what happened? He in the night he collected some cow dung from somewhere and got in through the ventilator to the principal's office and the staff office, where the jar, the earthen jar of water was stored, and mixed cow dung into it. The entire scenario came on top of me because I was just a jolly type of person, and I never knew how to prove myself, and so I was caught in that. I felt so bad, and in my life many a times, I have been wrongly framed in a lot of scenarios. And I've learned from all this in my life. It is not that I haven't learned from all these scenarios in my life. And anyway, I left Trivandrum, and my sister continued to be in Kerala. And when she was in Nagaland, she used to stand first for the language called Tenidie, which is the language for Angami. And our tuition teacher was of Mrs. Viswema, that is the wife of the late Chief Minister again of Nagaland, Viswema. My father, due to his good nature and his wonderful way of teaching and all that, and because he reached that place from a very long time back, all his friends were the top grade underground and the top level politicians and others of Nagaland, which I am today reaping the fruit of all those contacts and goodwill of his and my mother's good name. And as I left Trivandrum and reached back to Viswema and did my schooling in government high school Viswema for some time. And during that time, a naughty boy had a wonderful group of friends. I had my big sister Chazuba, who used to carry me around when we used to go selling the Teachers' Day badge to the army camp, and I used to run into the helicopter, followed by Chazuba and all, and jump into the helicopter because Uncle Venugopal was the GOC in command, and then later on I used to say I can't walk and all that. My poor big sister used to carry me all the way back from Jakhama to Viswema, and I had my wonderful best friend Viren, my sweet Vira Wale, who I call Avo, and I had Vicky A, and of course I had a wonderful Puviel, the little brother of my Chuzo, and then I had my little sister Adeno, whom I called Ano, and four brothers, Albert, Martin, Walter, and Leonard, with a little sister called Grace, and we were a gang playing around. When I was around 13 years old was the time I got my first guitar. We traveled all the way to Imphal, and the capital of Manipur state, and then we went off to Chorachandpur, bordering Burma, and bought an imported or smuggled Gibson acoustic guitar, and came back, and I was so happy, because those days having a Gibson guitar, acoustic Gibson guitar, was something, and it was costing 2,300 rupees. 2,300 rupees is big money in the mid 70s, and I was feeling like a prince. Of course, I am a prince even today. I live like a prince even today, and I used to show off my guitar to all my friends. One picnic day of the school, my guitar got stolen, and I was so sad, and all my friends were very sad too. But after many months, it so happened that one of my friends who was staying near, just below our house, in the school compound, above the school and all, was staying below, where a good old man, Apuza Holby, used to stay. And this Apuza Holby used to be so nice a person. He comes to our house every day in the morning and evening. And every evening he would take a trumpet made by himself, and play the tune of the military that announces that the flag goes down. Like, so I still remember all that. And this boy was the guy who stole the guitar. I went, and he had painted the guitar, and somehow I saw that flower inside was a little translucent, the paint, and I found that out. Told my dad about this, and my dad, the villagers immediately punished him with 7 times the amount of the guitar, and warned him, of course, though we did not take that 7 times money, and forgave that good old friend of mine from Jakhama. Another funny thing happened is that a group of seniors from Science College Kohima came for picnic, and the same place where Abuza Holvi used to stay. They had they were in that building for picnic, and I, a young boy, went there. And that was the first time actually I tasted booze. They were drinking booze, and I didn't know much about booze, because I used to. And booze actually was not considered as anything bad in Nagaland in those days, because They had those, they had and they still have those local made or homemade rice beers, which has different types of rice beers. Some are very toxic, some are not, like Zutho, okay, and all that. And I've seen because Nagaland is a place where we have a lot of socialization and parties. We find reasons to have a party in Nagaland. That's the greatest thing that we the Nagas have in us. We are very social and very humble and simple. And so they offered me a drink, and then suddenly a person said that if you drink, then you have to drink the entire bottle left here. I said, cool. I've seen my dad and my uncles and teachers or my uncles in the village drink, so I thought it's nothing. I drank that nearly half a bottle of pure rum, and I got conned, got caught by my mother. I said I have a headache, and I just went off, and my mother smelled that, and I got too anxious, but my dad never told me anything. Another funny thing happened, yes. And that was the first time I actually got into intoxication, though I and Pavil and we all used to drink, most of our friends, we used to drink the rice beer that is made at home, and rice beers are also made for young children, even babies are fed with rice beer, which is non-toxic at all. And you have, as I said, you have different type of rice beers, and those days you get only pure stuff made at home. Like there was a Southern Agami wrestling competition, and the entire booth was stored in my house, crates and crates of booze. During a wrestling competition, some friends of mine told me, "Hey, Jolly, go get a bottle of, just take a bottle of booze from that crates of booze, and nobody is going to go no. So just take it and come." I didn't want to drink, but being such an innocent person, I took it and literally got caught later on, and my parents felt so ashamed. They knew, and the villagers knew that I'm just an innocent boy. But I was fined 7 times. Now why I'm telling this about 7 times is that later on I'm going to come into these scenarios of 7 times and all that. What today's Nagas keep on talking about Section 371A, and this is where I'm coming up with all these stories, where I'm going to hint on all these things. Okay, well, all these things happened, and we were happy, and we used to go Chazuba, me and Abo and all. We used to go fetching kiposhe and kolashe, which is the wild apples and berries and all, and come out and then boil this kiposhe, that's a wild apple, and eat, and then have loose motion for the next day. And we used to go all the way to Viren's big brother's house, and I used to be mostly on the plum trees, and we had a lot of we also had a lot of pears called naspati and other things, and literally we were living a wonderful life out there for a long time till 1982, and we used to go to the village almost every evening, and be there in Vizol's house, or in other places. I go around the village, naughty boy around. The thing is that being a very soft and cute and little naughty boy, I used to be pestered by the boys, and they used to hit jakru on my head, tuck. So the girls, they used to be my guard or my protectors, and eventually, because I have a very ticklish body, eventually I became very close with girls. I have a history of mamas behind, different mamas behind, including my mom and my sister, and now I had the girls of the Bosti, all around, all the village, all around me, protecting me from the boys. And this in life, in fact, slowly and slowly made me understand a woman in toto. And today I have acquired that wonderful this thing. Gift that I can read a woman in her silence. I'm so close to women that women become very close to me in the good sense. And if you see on my virtual media, you would be surprised to see that more than 60% of my friends are women, and I don't think I have sent out friends request to even 10% of the people that are on my virtual media. More than 60 to 70% of them are women from all over the world, and I respect them to the utmost. And God has again blessed me with women all around in my house, my mother, my wife, my 2 daughters, and my sister. So again, I am covered with women at home also. 1982, reached class 10, and I went off, we shifted off to Kohima, and that is the time after my class 10 exams I was about to join Science College Kohima, which is called Science College Zotsuma now, the most prestigious science college in the northeast of that time, to do my pre-university. That's the base of higher education, and so we shifted off to Kohima. In the next episode, I would come up with my life in Kohima, and from there go ahead with my autobiography. And remember, my dear friends, many of these details, like being Fine 7 who stole my guitar, I being Fine 7 for flicking a bottle of rum for my friends, are all intended that I am coming to some point what I am actually doing today, and involved in the political scenarios of that wonderful place that I was born and brought up, the Northeast, one of the sisters of the 7 sisters, now it's 8, 7 sisterly states, Nagaland, and my wonderful people. Thank you. Keep watching for the next episode of my life.